Hello, all of you join. Hello. So far only 22 members joined. All of you join. Okay, yesterday, what you have discussed? We have discussed what is steady state heat conduction, unsteady state heat conduction, and periodic heat conduction. What are the boundary conditions and initial conditions? The steady state, unsteady state, periodic. Steady state. If the temperature does not vary with time, if you heat a block or any material, if the temperature material does not vary with time, it is a steady state heat conduction. Instead of that, if the temperature varies with respect to time, so that is known as unsteady state heat conduction, or other name for the unsteady state heat conduction, transient heat conduction. And third one, periodic heat transfer. Periodic means so repeats in the cyclic nature, cyclic in nature. For example, take the building. Yesterday I discussed the example of building. So daytime building wall or building temperature increases. Yes, all are available in YouTube. I have uploaded to YouTube all the material. So far, I given 6 lessons. Those 6 have been uploaded in the YouTube. Verify. Somebody is asking, they are not there in the YouTube. All are available in YouTube. All the 6 lessons are available in the YouTube. Verify. So somebody is asking, so YouTube. All are available in the YouTube. Verify. Okay. Periodic heat transfer. The temperature of the wall of the building daytime increases. In the evening, again, that is from outside to inside in the daytime. In the evening or during nights, temperature from the building to outside. So that is the heat transfer is reverse. That is cyclic in nature. Again, second day, daytime temperature increases, building temperature increases, and during night time, building temperature decreases. That type of heat transfer is known as periodic heat transfer. So that has been covered in the last class yesterday. What is steady state, unsteady state, and periodic heat transfer, and what are the boundary conditions. There are boundary kind of first kind temperature. If we prescribe the temperatures at the boundaries, there is a boundary kind of first kind. If we prescribe heat fluxes at the boundaries, that is the boundary condition of the second kind. If we prescribe the convective heat transfers at the boundaries, convective heat transfer rates, that is boundary kind of third kind. And fourth kind. What is boundary condition of the fourth kind? If there are two materials at the interface, what is the boundary condition? The conduction from the material A is equal to conduction from the material B. So those have been completed yesterday. Okay, na? So today we'll discuss one-dimensional steady-state heat conduction by applying that one through a plain wall. If you take any one wall thickness or single material, or sometimes two materials, three materials in the furnaces, in the industries. So heat transfer from in the furnace, there inside the brick will be there, brick lining will be there, and the material, steel material will be there, like that, and insulation material will be there at the outside. Inside brick material, in between brick and insulating material, there is steel material will be there, like that, three materials. That is a composite wall. You can call it as composite wall. So whenever we consider one-dimensional steady heat conduction, one-dimensional steady state heat conduction, if you apply to a plain wall or composite walls, how to calculate heat transfer rate, and what are the thermal resistances? Thermal resistance with respect to conduction. What is thermal resistance with respect to convection? That we'll discuss today. So one-dimensional steady state heat conduction through plain wall or composite wall. How do you calculate transfer rate? In that, one important topic is there, or important concept, thermal resistance. How do you calculate thermal resistance? Thermal resistance for a plain wall, a single wall, single material. And how do you calculate thermal resistance for a composite wall? Like that. So before going to discuss that one, so that is one-dimensional heat conduction. So fundamental laws governing heat transfer already discussed. Fundamental laws governing heat transfer, rate equation governing the three modes of heat transfer. Just for repeat, conduction. Which law in the conduction? Fourier's law of heat conduction will be used. What is Fourier's law of heat conduction? Q is equal to minus Ka dt by dx. So Q heat transfer rate minus K thermal conductivity, A area, normal area, dt by dx temperature gradient, dt temperature change, dx thickness of the material. That is Fourier's law of heat conduction. And convection, Newton's law of cooling. Convection already given, Q is equal to HA delta T. H convective Q heat transfer rate. H convective H is the convective transfer coefficient, watt per meter square Kelvin, and units, A area, and TW minus T free stream, or TS minus T free stream, wall temperature minus fluid temperature. That is Newton's law of cooling. And radiation, Stephen Boltzmann law. What is the law under radiation? Stephen Boltzmann law. Q is equal to sigma A into T1 to the power 4 minus T2 to the power 4, where Q is the heat transfer rate, sigma. So Stephen Boltzmann constant, 5, that is, what is the value? 5.67 into 10 power minus 8 watt per meter square, K, and K to the power 4. So sigma into A area, T1 to the power 4 minus T2 to the power 4. If it is a black bodies, T1 temperature body 1, T2 temperature body 2, fourth power of the temperatures. That is Stephen Boltzmann law. And in addition to the empirical relation of fluid properties, so in the heat transfer, and especially in the convection, and as well as in the conduction, the radiation, other properties that affect the heat transfer rate are specific heat of the material, thermal conductivity of the material, viscosity of the fluid, like that. So all these are fundamental laws, and equation of state for the fluid. All these are fundamental laws. Okay. Now we will go for specifically one-dimensional heat conduction. One-dimensional heat conduction, steady state heat conduction. So if you take that one, one-dimensional steady state heat conduction equation, for example, d square T by dx square is equal to 0 if there is no internal heat generation and steady state. So if you take the, yesterday I explained, first single one-dimensional d square T by dx square, that is equal to 0. So you have to temperature equation, you have to get the temperature equation. And from that, you have to go for first integration, second integration. You have to apply the temperature values at the left side T1, at the right side T2, and you apply that, you will get the, for one single plane wall, you will get the Q heat transfer rate from the Fourier's law. Already governing rate equation for conduction is Fourier's law. And heat transfer rate, how do you calculate? For consider single plane wall, plane slab of thickness L. This thickness is L in the x direction. That is only single one-dimensional. And temperature at the left phase T1, temperature right phase T2, and heat is being transferred, the Q heat. K is thermal conductivity of the material, and temperature drop from T1 to T2. T1 is higher than that of T2, so temperature decreases from T1 to T2, and slope of the temperature variation, that is dt by dx. So temperature variation of temperature with respect to x, thickness dx, or you can take L, thickness L. So if you take that one, so from the Fourier's law of heat conduction, heat transfer Q is equal to minus Ka dt by dx. dt, variation of temperature, T2 minus T1 divided by dx, that is thickness L. So for a plane wall in steady state condition, so if you remove the minus sign, then instead of T2 minus T1, so this becomes Q is equal to heat transfer rate, Q is equal to Ka T1 minus T2 by L. So this can be obtained by using the formula, one-dimensional steady state equation. If there is no internal heat generation, that is d square T by dx square. That by integrating first integration, by applying this boundary condition T1 at the left side, T2 at the right side, and then you'll get the heat transfer rate Ka T1 minus T2 by L. That is from Fourier's law of heat conduction. So this Fourier's law heat conduction having some assumptions. The assumption behind Fourier's law, he is a person Fourier, he has developed this law. So Fourier's law is an empirical law derived from experimental observations by conducting number of experiments on different materials, by taking the thermal conductivity of different materials, by conducting number of experiments on different materials. So he has arrived that equation Q is equal to Ka dt by dx or minus Ka dt by dx. That's why Fourier's law is assumptions are the Fourier's law. Sometimes there are standard questions, standard 2 marks question. What are the assumptions of the Fourier's law? So assumptions. So Fourier's law is an empirical law only, derived from experimental observations only, not from theoretical considerations, not from fundamentals or theoretical considerations. So Fourier's law is an empirical law derived based on the experimental observation. By conducting number of experiments on different materials, it arrived at equation Q is equal to minus Ka dt by dx. And next, Fourier's law is defined for only steady state condition and one dimensional heat flow only. Steady state condition, that is steady state condition means variation of temperature dou T by dou small t is equal to 0. Right hand side equation, right hand in the equation, conduction equation, right hand side 1 by alpha dou capital T by dou small t, where capital T is the temperature in Kelvin, small t in time. So that is equal to 0 for steady state. That's why Fourier's law is defined for steady state only and also one dimensional heat flow only. Here we are taking one dimensional heat flow only, one dimension in the x direction only. We are not considering y direction, we are not considering z direction. So only one dimensional heat flow. So he has assumed like that. He arrived at that equation Q is equal to minus Ka dt by dx. And it is assumed that the boundary surface between which heat flows are isothermal and that the temperature gradient is constant, the temperature profile is linear. So boundary surface as a left side temperature is constant, right side temperature is constant. That is it. Variation of temperature is constant at the left side and the right side, but the temperature profile is linear in between. Here the temperature profile is linear. That is third assumption. First assumption, it is derived from experimental observation. Second assumption, Fourier's law is defined only for steady state condition and one dimensional heat flow. And third assumption, it assumed that the boundary surfaces, bounding surface between which heat flows are isothermal. Temperature at the isothermal, temperature constant. And the temperature gradient is constant. That is temperature gradient is constant. And that is dt by dx. That's why the temperature profile is linear in nature. And continuation. There is no internal heat generation in the material. That's why Q dot by K to equal to 0. There is no internal heat generation in the material. The material homogeneous in nature. The density is constant and isotropic. Homogeneous material is homogeneous in nature, constant density, and isotropic. Thermal conductivity is same in all the directions. Thermal conductivity is same in all the isotropic means thermal conductivity is same in all the directions. Density is constant and thermal conductivity also same in all the directions, x direction, y direction, z direction. For example, if you consider 3 dimensions also, generally one dimensional analysis. So that is x direction. If you consider only x direction, x direction. If you consider instead of x, if you consider y direction, only single y. The thermal conductivity is same in all the directions. Fourier's law is applicable to all states of matter. So sometimes conduction generally solids mainly, but you can there's some light conduction will take within the liquid also or gas also. All states of matter. But generally we consider main conduction in solids and convection in liquids, gases. And Fourier's law helps to define the thermal conductivity. Mainly from the Fourier's law, what is the property of the material that is developed or defined thermal conductivity? Already explained what is thermal conductivity. K. K is the thermal conductivity of given material. And next, if you consider, so any material of thickness L, here I mentioned length, but thickness you take, and generally we'll call it a thickness. So thickness L and temperature at the left face T1, temperature at the right face T2, and rate of heat conduction, rate of heat transfer by conduction Q is given by from the Fourier's law, already explained, Ka dt by L. So thermal conductivity K, A area, normal area, for example, A normal area, and variation of temperature and divided by thickness, or L or thickness of the material. Here K in thermal conductivity. What are the units of thermal conductivity? Already given, watt per meter Kelvin. And area in area of the cross section here, area of the cross section, that is in meter square. Meter square. L is the thickness. Instead of length, you call it a thickness. L is the thickness, and dt, temperature difference in Kelvin. L is the thickness in meters. So dt, change of temperature or temperature difference in Kelvin. Okay, na? So that's why in a single plane wall, a single plane slab, so you can calculate heat transfer rate like this. And already explained convection. Convection, heat is carried from place to place by bulk movement of fluid. For example, if we are heating this vessel, water, heating of water in this vessel with a stove. So how the heat is transferred within the liquid? Heat is carried from one place to other place within the liquid by bulk movement of the fluid. Bulk movement of the fluid. How the bulk movement takes place? By density changes. So water, as the temperature increases, water becomes hot. Less dense water rises upwards. Less dense water, as the temperature increases, less dense water or less dense fluid in move upwards. And water cools, other water cools and becomes more dense and sinks. That's why less dense, as the temperature increases, less dense particles move upwards, high dense liquid particles go downwards. So then convection currents are developed like this. Convection currents. Here also convection currents. So that is the bulk movement of the fluid. Convection currents are developed. So convection currents are set up when a pan of water is heated. Within the water, convection currents are developed. Due to that convection currents, due to density changes, heat transfer within the liquid takes place. That type of heat transfer is convection heat transfer. And what is the law in the convection? Newton's law of cooling. So Q is equal to HA delta T. I already explained. Q heat transfer rate. H is the convective transfer coefficient, watt per meter square Kelvin. And A area, delta T, this is delta T only. Delta T, change in temperature. Generally, for convection, air, if you take at 1 bar and free convection, the convective transfer value, H value will be around 6 to 30 watt per meter square Kelvin. Free convection, if you do not provide any forced fan or blower, air at 1 bar, so the heat transfer coefficient values will be in between 6 to 30. And if you take the air medium and again at a pressure of 1 bar, and if you forced convection, there is forced convection. If you use any fan or blower, then the heat transfer coefficient value increases. H value, convective transfer coefficient value increases. Convective transfer coefficient value increases. For free convection, these values are low. And forced convection, these values are more. The 10 to 200 watt per meter square Kelvin. But instead of air, if you take the water medium, then convection heat transfer coefficient values, are increases because of water, bulk water. Water is bulk fluid. Air less dense. So water, if you take the free convection environment or situation, if working substance is water or fluid is water, then the convective transfer coefficient H values will be in between 500 to 1000 watt per meter square Kelvin. Instead of free convection, if you go for forced convection, water forced convection, these values increases from 500 to 1000 to 600 to 8000. And this is plain convection. Instead of you go for boiling heat transfer, boiling water, if you boil the water, within the boiling water also convection currents are developed. So convective transfer coefficient values are higher with respect to boiling. So because boiling, so you have to go for higher pressures and higher temperatures, then the convective transfer coefficient values are higher. So boiling water 2500 to 10,000 watt per meter square Kelvin. Watt per meter square Kelvin. And if you use the condensing of steam, boiling water and steam, you can produce steam. And convective transfer coefficient values are 2500 to 10,000 or 1 lakh, sorry, 2500 to 1 lakh watt per meter square Kelvin. And if you condense the steam, condensing of steam, again in that boiling is condensation. Condensation also to some extent high, but when compared with the boiling, so condensation to some extent less. That is condensing steam. The convective transfer coefficient values are from 2,500 to 70,000. Like that, so in the conduction, convection, so our equations are conduction equation Q is equal to Ka delta T by L, where L is the thickness. And Newton's law of cooling, the equation is Q equal to HA delta T. Okay, na? Now, with the, up to this, already I covered these basic principles of conduction, convection. But now, in the one-dimensional heat conduction, so if the conduction is there, one thermal resistance value will be there. And if convection, with respect to convection, there one thermal resistance. How do you calculate conduction thermal resistance? How do you calculate convection thermal resistance? If we take the example of one-dimensional wall or one-dimensional plane wall or slab, or if there are two materials, material A, material B, and material C, how do you calculate thermal resistance? How do you calculate conduction thermal resistance? How do you calculate convective thermal resistance? For that, next slide, concept of thermal resistance. So how do you calculate thermal resistance? How much resistance offered when heat is being transferred within a plane wall of thickness L, one-dimensional steady state heat conduction through plane wall, a single material with a thickness L, temperature L, left side T1, temperature right side T2, and temperature variation, temperature where T with respect to X, temperature gradient linear, K is the thermal conductivity. So from the Fourier's law, how do you calculate heat transfer rate? Q is equal to Ka. So I'm not using minus K because we are changing the temperature from T2 minus T1 to T1 minus T2. That's why I'm directly now speaking like this. Heat transfer rate Q in the one-dimensional steady state heat conduction from the Fourier's law of heat conduction, heat transfer Q is equal to Ka into T1 minus T2 by L. T1 minus T2. Ka T1 minus T2 whole divided by L. So therefore, Q is equal to T1 minus T2 divided by L by Ka. L by Ka. T1 minus T2, you can write delta T, variation of temperature, divided by delta T divided by L by Ka. Delta T divided by L by Ka. And that is equal to delta T divided by RTH. RTH, thermal resistance. So what is delta T? Thermal difference. Delta T, temperature difference. Temperature difference. And RTH, thermal resistance. Temperature difference by thermal resistance. Temperature difference by thermal resistance. So heat transfer rate Q is equal to temperature difference by delta T by RTH, the thermal resistance. So in the conduction heat transfer, how do you calculate thermal resistance? L by Ka, L by K, A. So what is L? Thickness of the material in meters. What is L? Thickness of the material in meters. What is K? Thermal conductivity of the material in watt per meter Kelvin. What is area? This area, normal area. So perpendicular to the this computer, the one more dimension will be like this dimension. So you have to calculate normal area, this left face or right face same. So like this, normal area, height into this width or thickness, not thickness, height into this value, width. Then you'll get the area, normal area. So L by Ka is the thermal resistance for a single plane wall. Okay, na? Now, so you can draw the electrical analogy. So electrical analogy, you can apply electrical analogy to this thermal resistance concept. So here Q, heat transfer rate, and at the left face, the temperature T1, and the resistance, thermal resistance, R conduction, thermal resistance. With respect to conduction, R conduction means thermal resistance. How do you calculate that one? L by Ka. And here temperature T2. What is the amount that you are giving? That much of amount coming out. So this is a representation of thermal resistance with a diagram, just like electrical. So E is equal to CR, voltage, E, C, current, R, resistance. From that resistance, electrical resistance R is equal to E by C, voltage by current. Here also, thermal resistance, how do you calculate? Q by delta T. Sorry. So thermal resistance RTH is equal to delta T by Q. Thermal resistance RTH is equal to Q, delta T by Q. So delta T, temperature difference, by Q, heat transfer rate, heat potential. Similarly, how do you calculate electrical resistance? E is equal to CR. From that, R is equal to, electrical resistance R is equal to E by R. That E, voltage potential, EMF or voltage potential by C. So current. Here, delta T by Q, that is temperature difference. Instead of voltage difference, temperature difference here. Divided by current, that is heat transfer. Other current flow, here heat flow. Current flow through the circuit is the C. Here heat flow through the material, heat flow. That's why, so as that of electrical analogy, E is equal to CR, voltage difference or voltage potential is equal to current into resistance. From that, resistance is equal to voltage potential difference divided by, that is voltage difference, potential difference divided by current flow. Here also, thermal resistance is equal to temperature difference by heat flow. Temperature difference by heat flow. Here RTH, thermal resistance L by Ka is known as thermal resistance of the slab for conduction heat transfer. For conduction heat transfer. Now, consider thermal resistance continuation. It is seen that there is a clear analogy between the flow of heat and flow of electricity, as shown below. So here, T1 temperature, if you take the heat flow, heat flow, temperature difference from T1 to T2, heat flowing through the material. And how do you calculate transfer rate? T1 minus T2 by R. T1 minus T2 by R. That R is the thermal resistance. So similar to the thermal resistance, electrical current flow, electrical resistance, RE, electrical. So voltage V1, voltage V2. Current I is equal to heat flow here. Here in the electrical current flow I, RC, CR, I is the current. That is equal to V1 minus V2. Voltage difference divided by RE, electrical resistance. RE for electrical resistance. That's why, so thermal circuit is analogous to electrical circuit. That's why you can, by using the electrical analogy, you can easily solve the problems in the thermal systems also. That's why electrical analogy is required while solving the problems in these thermal systems. Okay, clear? just like heat flow, there is a current flow, I current or C current. So electrical circuit, if it is electrical circuit, driving force, what is driving force? How the current is flowing in this with the help of the potential difference, with the help of the voltage. If there is voltage only, there is a current flow. If there is voltage, then only there is current flow in the circuit. That's why what is the electrical circuit? If you take situation electrical circuit, what is driving force for the current to flow? That voltage is required. So delta V, change in voltage from V1 minus V2 or V2 minus V1. Delta V, change of voltage. And then only the flow of current. So what is the flow here? Current flow. Current I. Current flow, we can represent current with I. What is the resistance here? Electrical resistance. How do you calculate electrical resistance? Electrical resistance, if you take this one, Re is equal to delta V by I. Re, electrical resistance Re. Electrical resistance Re is equal to delta V by I, where delta V is the voltage, change of voltage or potential difference divided by current I. So analogous this electrical analogy, so you can apply this one to our thermal system. Electrical thermal circuit, if you take thermal circuit, what is required in order to flow of heat is required. For example, you want to heat flow is required in this. So thermal circuit. So for a flow of heat flow rate Q, what is required? Temperature difference is required. Whenever there is temperature change, then only heat flow takes place, or heat flow will be there. So temperature difference, what is temperature difference here? Delta T. Heat flow, what is heat flow here? Q, heat flow rate Q. And what is thermal resistance R? How do you calculate thermal resistance? R is equal to delta T by T1 minus T2 by Q. From this R is equal to, from this relation, Q is equal to T1 minus T2 by divided by R. From this R, that is thermal resistance R is equal to T1 minus T2 by Q. That's why thermal resistance RTH can be calculated T1 minus T2 delta T divided by Q, heat flow rate. Like that. So there is analogy between electrical and thermal systems. So thermal circuits and electrical circuits. So this is very, very important. You'll be getting compare electrical circuit and thermal circuit in a with a diagram. 2 mark questions or sometimes 7 mark question. So you can draw these diagrams. You can explain like this. Next, consider thermal resistance. Continue. For example, if the conduction environment, the thermal resistance is L by Ka. If the conduction heat transfer, and that is L by Ka. L is the thickness, K is the thermal conductive material, A is the normal area. Instead of that, sometimes there is convection as well as conduction combined together. That's why you require convection resistance also. If you take the convection, how do you calculate thermal resistance in the convection? How do you calculate convection heat transfer rate? Convection heat transfer rate, how do you calculate? Q is equal to HA TW minus T free stream or TS minus TF. Here we take a plate. You are heating the plate with Q. TS or temperature of the surface, or temperature, wall temperature or surface temperature. Here air is flowing, for example, or water is flowing with a here not U, that is H only. Okay, U, okay, velocity. Flowing with a velocity U. So air is flowing with a velocity U. And temperature fluid is TF. F for fluid. Temperature fluid. T free stream or TF, one and the same. In the earlier class I have told that is T free stream. That is fluid temperature. So T free stream or temperature of the fluid same. So U is the velocity of the fluid. T is the TF is the temperature fluid. H is the convective heat transfer coefficient. Q is the heat transfer rate. TS is the surface temperature of the plate or wall temperature of the plate. And from the Newton's law of cooling, If the convection, heat transfer takes place within the fluid. Heat transfer takes place within the fluid through convection mode. Because of density differences, convection currents are developed. High dense, less dense materials move upward, downward, and convection currents are developed. So for that, the convective heat transfer coefficient or convective heat transfer, how do you calculate? Q is equal to HA TS, surface temperature minus TF, fluid temperature. In the earlier class, I have given TW minus T free stream, both are same. TW wall temperature or surface temperature. T free stream or TF, temperature fluid or temperature of the free stream, all are same. Both are same only. So Q is equal to HA into TS minus T free stream. From this relation, Q is equal to TS minus TF by 1 by HA. You can write HA into HA into TS minus TF. You can write like this: TS minus TF divided by 1 by HA. But what is TS minus TF? The temperature difference, delta T by 1 by HA. So again, Q transfer Q is equal to temperature difference by convective thermal resistance. Earlier, conduction thermal resistance, that is L by Ka. But here, convective thermal resistance. But how do you calculate convective thermal resistance? How do you calculate convective thermal resistance? 1 by HA, where H is the convective transfer coefficient in watt per meter square Kelvin. A is the surface area of the plate in meter square. That's why 1 by HA is the convective thermal resistance. So corresponding circuit for the convection, heat is flowing like this, and here the temperature is TS is higher than TF. That's why TS surface temperature, and this is the resistance offered for this heat flow. Resistance offered by this fluid for the flow of heat, Q. So that is convective resistance or convective thermal resistance, R convective is equal to convective thermal resistance, that is equal to 1 by HA. TF is the temperature of the fluid or free stream temperature. So heat is coming out just like what are the heat that is entering, that much of heat coming out. That's why. So here, if you take the convection, how do you calculate convection resistance? 1 by HA. Note the units of convective resistance. Units are 1 by H watt per meter square Kelvin. In the that's why. So here meter square get cancelled. That is 1 by W by K. And if you reverse that one, so K by W, thermal conductivity. 1 by, so that is like that, convective resistance 1 by HA. Okay, na? Now, sometimes in the conduction, sometimes there is conduction, and if you take this plane wall, within the material conduction, here left side, their convection will be there. Right side, for example, air, left side, the convective heat transfer through air. Again, right side also, if there is second medium, air, and the convective heat transfer through the air. So here, one convection resistance, here one conduction resistance, again second convection resistance. That's why, so you have to combine conduction, convection sometimes. Okay, na? That will discuss. So whenever if you combine convection, conduction, and there is combined heat transfer, how do you calculate the resistance? For that, you have to go for, if the conduction, convection are combined, then you have to go for, so universal or heat transfer coefficient, U, capital U, universal heat transfer coefficient. by combining conduction and convection. That is 1 by U is equal to 1 by HA plus L by KA. Like that, the relation is, I will give that combination of conduction convection tomorrow. Practical application of thermal resistance concept. So where do you apply this thermal resistance? To analyze the problem where one or more modes of heat transfer occur simultaneously. Where one or more modes of heat transfer occur simultaneously. Just like already explained in some heat transfer problems, conduction as well as convection, both will be there. Conduction, single conduction, or sometimes conduction as well as convection. So for that, you have to go for the thermal resistance concept. And you have to use the thermal resistance. So in the conduction, L by Ka gives us the thermal resistance. In the convection, 1 by Ha gives us the convective thermal resistance value. And so where do you apply the thermal resistance concept? To analyze the problems where multiple layers of materials of different thermal conductivities are used. Different thermal conductivities are a single conductivity, same conductivity, or different thermal conductivity. So generally, if you use different material, different conductivity will be there. Sometimes, so in furnace walls, there are already explained brick wall will be there, and there is steel plate will be there, steel thickness plate, and outside that one there is a insulating material will be there. So first material brick, second material steel, third material insulating material like asbestos sheet or graphite material or asbestos rope. Like that, if there are three different materials, for example, multiple layers of materials of different thermal conductivities, you have to use this thermal resistance concept. How do if there is conduction for one material? So L by K, that is L1 by K1A. L1, thickness of the material 1, K1, thermal conductivity of the material 1, A area. And similarly, for second material, L2 by K2A, where L2 is the thickness of second material, K2 is the thermal conductivity of second material, A is the area. Like that, the three materials, L3 by K3A, where L3 is the thickness of the third material, K3 is the thermal conductivity of the third material. Like that, A area, normal area. Like that, there are multiple layers of materials are there in our different thermal conductors are used. Example in furnace walls or in the industries, if you go for these multiple materials, then you have to use this thermal concept, thermal resistance concept, thermal resistance. So clear. So how do you calculate thermal resistance? Is there conduction? That is L by Ka. L by Ka. Here if there is convection, and that is 1 by H1A. Here 1 by H2A. Second medium, first medium 1 by H1A. Where H1 is the convective transfer coefficient for the material for the fluid 1. And next 1 by H2A. Where H2 is the convective transfer coefficient for the second convective medium or fluid. Like that, you can here in between. So this is convection resistance, this is convection resistance, and in between there is conduction resistance, L by Ka. Okay, na? So like that, these are the thermal resistance concepts in the conduction and the convection. And conduction, you can use L by Ka. In the convection, you can use 1 by Ha. Okay, na? So by using this conduction, convection, if you combine conduction, convection, and that is combined mode of heat transfer. For that, if you combine conduction, convection, there is one more heat transfer coefficient, capital U, universal heat transfer coefficient. That we'll discuss tomorrow in the next class. Okay. So that's all for today. So any doubt? Any doubt? So if there are no doubts, I'll share this yeah, lecture 5, lecture 6, and lecture 7 in the group today, today evening. And all of you read the topic so far. From tomorrow onwards, we'll solve some problems on this one-dimensional steady-state heat conduction by taking three materials and conduction, and by combining the conduction and convection. All those are very, very important. So that's all for today. If you are not having any doubt, I'm closing. Any doubt?